Body shot. Ooh, that hurt, didn't it?
When adrenaline starts pumping and you know what you can do with this right hand, it's hard to not do that.
Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Blessed season has returned. Max Holloway, former featherweight champion with 5 title defenses underneath his belt, is making his return against a man we have not seen in quite some time in Yair Rodriguez. Number 3 in the division. Some say unrightfully so, some say undeservingly so. I guess we're going to get into all that stuff in 1 minute, folks. We have a lot of fun prelim fights. We got a couple of good fights here on the main card. And we also got a stacked combat sports weekend here. I believe it's Bellator 271 that's on the docket. Cris Cyborg is looking to defend her featherweight championship for the 3rd time against Sinead Kavanagh, or maybe I mispronounced that one. I do believe it's an Irish name, so forgive me for that. But I gotta ask a question off the bat, and I'm gonna bring in my co-host to do that. So my name is Derick G, your host, and checking in with me, as always, is the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe bomber himself. AJ, what's happening, brother? Right off the bat, I gotta ask you a question. Former UFC champion herself, one of the best MMA artists to do it, man or woman, Cris Cyborg. Like I said, she's making her 3rd title defense. She's looking to make the 3rd title defense at Bellator 271. But the question to you is this, brother. We know Bellator sometimes has these skewed fights where, let's say, we have some pretty heavy favorites over there, right? Are you surprised to know that Cyborg has opened up as a minus 2,000 favorite with a plus 950 comeback on Sinead Kavanagh? Is that surprising to you? Does that blow your mind? To me, when I was just looking over the odds, I was like, minus 2,000, huh? So she doesn't even have a chance. That's the type of competition we got. What do you think, brother?
I mean, the number, taking context out of it, the number minus 2,000 round at the jump, I'd be like, yeah, that's kind of shocking. But you put it in Bellator, where you really do have those kind of heavy favorites against an absolute legend like Cris Cyborg. Yeah, I kind of not as shocked as one would think, to be honest, Derick.
I hear you, man. It still blows my mind nonetheless. It just goes to show that it's like you cannot consider yourself, you cannot even think to yourself that you are the best organization for mixed martial arts in the world when you have these type of lines, kind of on a regular basis too. We know Cyborg is very, very dominant, but maybe we should have some opposition that will give her a little more of a challenge. Maybe that's the idea. Who knows, man? I'm just throwing ideas out there, my man. AJ, how hyped are you to see Max Blessed Holloway back in action? Or maybe I should say, how hyped are you to see Yair Rodriguez back in action? The man has not fought in nearly 25 months, and a Max Holloway, who normally likes to fight about 2-3 times a year, has only fought once so far. This will only be his 2nd fight. He had an injury earlier in the year. How hyped are you to see both of these guys compete?
Derick, I am hyped, brother. I am excited. The Blessed Express is back, my man. You know, I'm a big fan over here of Max Blessed Holloway, man. I'm excited to get it done. And not only that, I'm excited to see the fight against Yair. Bro, Yair is an absolute crazy striker. The kick's going to be insane. The whole gambit of what they have to bring to the table is going to be absolutely insane. And I love the way Max is going about it. You know, they gave him some award early in the early presser, and then now he's kind of able to focus in. We're seeing a new style of Max Holloway that I absolutely love, and mix that with the chaos that Yair is known to bring, because you can never count this man out. Literally until the last bell or you put him asleep, you cannot count Yair out. The combination that these two are going to bring to the octagon, Derick, is going to be mind-blowing. It's going to be a lot of fun. Fists are going to be flying, feet are going to be hitting faces, bro. It's going to be a good time, Derick. How excited are you?
I'm very, very excited, just because one, this is going to answer a lot of questions in this 145-pound division that, is so exciting, man, that we want to see these championship fights. We want to see this top 5 get shaken up a little bit. You know, the Calvin Katers, Yair Rodriguez, Max Holloways, none of them have been very active, man. So Alex Volkanovski has kind of had slim pickings when we're talking about title challengers. You know what I'm saying? We had T-City, Brian Ortega. That was a very crazy fight over there at 266, I believe. But nonetheless, man, like I said, this is going to open things up. And I do believe that the winner of this one, truly, I know they're already saying it, but I do believe they are going to fight Alex Volkanovski. We will have a true undisputed, even though... Listen, Alexander the Great, he showed why he is the champion, but nonetheless, did he win that last fight against Max Holloway? Listen, that's neither here nor there. Not even going to comment on that. AJ, brother, before we start moving on to things, my man, Christmas season is approaching, brother. You know, November 1st, they tear down all the Halloween decorations. They go straight to the Christmas trees and all that. You see, I'm a little festive here in the background, brother. You doing anything for the holidays, man? You going to spice it up a little bit? What are we talking about?
Ooh, I haven't planned anything yet, Derick, but I am a little closer to home, so I might be making a surprise trip. You never know. Mom, I know you're listening, so don't get your hopes too excited up there. I might be making a stop. We don't know. We'll see what's going on. I don't know, man. Yeah, I got to take care of this one behind me, Bearser. You know, she's always the one holding me down. So we'll find something. I'm not sure yet, Derick. What are your plans?
Listen, I mean, I'm always working, man, so it's hard for me to go and take time out to schedule and all that. I'm not the biggest holiday guy and all that, but we'll see what happens. Might see some folks, might have to go and, say, I'm always a big fan of you don't got to celebrate the holiday on the day of, man. It's just a day. We can always celebrate it on another day with the same sentiment. In terms of decoration, though, man, you throwing a wreath up in the back? What are we talking about?
I might have to, my man. A little Christmas tree or something. Yeah, it's funny, man. I just said that I got to take care of Bears all the time. I got her little getup, her little Christmas hat, everything like that. So I feel like it's time for me to get the apartment set up and get festive that way as well, man. She can't be the only one celebrating.
That's right, folks. Do not forget here on this program, Sasha Bear comes first, man. That's just how we running it, all right? So, with all the formalities out of the way, AJ, let's do what we do best, brother. We got to hit this poster score one time, my man. So let me open this thing up. Max Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez. AJ, we've coming off of, I think, 2 weeks back-to-back of very, very poor scores for the poster score and poor ratings for the poster score, I guess I should say. And I think we're going to go 3 weeks straight. At least I am, man. I'm giving this a 3. I think this is a terrible poster, personally. And the reason why is because it feels like, when they put the two fighters face to face in the posters before they have the actual poster out, and it's just kind of like a placeholder. This is what that feels like, except they just threw a couple colors on there. Like, it doesn't feel like a poster to me. It feels like someone who is a novice in Photoshop kind of got this thing done in 5 minutes, man. So folks who are just listening at home, it's basically just a plain white background, Holloway and Rodriguez staring at each other, and just their names and a big verses over them, which it's just kind of, it's weird, teal, red, all that cool stuff, whatever. I'm giving it a 3, AJ. Where are you going on this, brother?
Derick, I like the color scheme they have going. That's about it, to be honest with you on this one, man. That's scoring another 3 weeks of low effort on these posters going so far, man. And just basically nothing to write home about this one. Nothing too new. Like I said, I like the colors. So I'm going a 4, my man. 4, pretty low. Not too excited about it, to be honest with you.
Okay, right on. Well, my man gets a 4. You got a good color scheme over there with my man who got a little color blindness himself. You know what I'm saying? So that's saying a lot there for you, UFC. You know what I'm saying? You lucky my man gave you a 4 right there. You should have got a 3. 3's across the board. But all right, AJ, let me pull this one down, brother. Just a quick reminder, folks. 123 and 87 am I on the year. 107 and 103 is AJ on the year. It's November 11th as we are recording this, and we still got a long way to go towards the end of the year. We're fighting for a very, very beautiful, beautiful belt, man. I don't have the picture of it off the top, but just know, a couple episodes ago, I revealed it. I unveiled it, man. It's beautiful. 6 pounds of gold. Not really gold, but you know what I'm saying. 6 pounds of beauty, you know what I'm saying, that we rocking with. And let's just say, let's make these counts pick this week, brother. We both got to get it in. And lastly, folks, drop a like, subscribe. Listen, folks, you guys have been rocking hard with us over these last couple of weeks, man. I think we've jumped up maybe 20, 30 subscribers in the past couple of weeks, literally just alone, man. A lot of love on the Islam Makhachevs and the Hamza Chimaev video. So listen, folks, just know that all the comments, we see them, we appreciate them. We're trying to get back to all of them. Keep dropping them, keep liking them, keep subscribing, all that stuff. I think we're at 265 subscribers right now, so let's get up to 300. Why not? Let's do it, man. Like we some Spartans or something. 300, you dig? All right, AJ. Now it's time to really start rocking, brother. Let's talk some sleepers. But before we actually talk our sleepers, we need to talk some prelim sleepers. So let me cue the music, brother.
It's time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
All right, brother. So this card is chocked full of sleepers on what is an otherwise sleepy card. I believe that that's something that you told me in the Slack channel, right? This is a sleepy card, but we got some good things on there, at least on paper. Now, I want to ask you about this fight, my man. We got Kennedy Nzechukwu, and I apologize if I butchered your name because you're a savage, brother, versus Da Un Jung, man. That is going to be a banger in the light heavyweight division, my man. Odds are minus 120 on Da Un Jung, plus 100 on Kennedy with the comeback, my man. I think it's going to be a very, very fun fight because both of these dudes are killers. I think Da Un Jung is a little bit bit of an underrated sleeper type fighter, even though it's undeserved because this dude is a savage and he's a beast and he could, I mean, clearly he's the favorite in this one. So that's speaking a lot, man. Just tell me, what do you think about this matchup, my man? Not even in depth or anything like that. Do you like it? Who are you leaning with on this one? Talk to me.
Derick, I like this matchup a lot, man. I almost made this one my sleeper, but it felt a little too easy. It felt like a layup because we know these dudes are about to be swinging some heavy leather in there. Both of them have a lot of KOs on their record. I mean, Nchuku, however you say his name, I butchered it as well, my man. Either way, homeboy is an absolute savage. Same thing with Da Un Jung. It's going to be crazy off the jump. And like I said, man, this one almost made it into the sleeper category for me, but it was too easy just because it's going to be so fireworks right off the jump, man. How you feeling about this one?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about this one, man. I love it as an opener for this card because it's guaranteed violence. It's guaranteed violence on this one. And that's what you need to open up these cards. And I believe that's probably why, looking back in hindsight, that's why they booked Michael Chandler versus Justin Gaethje for the first fight of the main card for UFC 268. Yes, did it kind of make people sleepy for the other couple of fights that came over because all of your adrenaline was dumped out after the first fight? Yes, it did. But also, that's the thing that you need to see. Oh, this card is going to be a banger if this is only the first fight of the night. So I think it's a beauty to open up, man. And I'm not going to lie to you. Even though in Check Wu, you know what I mean? This dude has been on a little bit of a run, man. You know, he was a little iffy first couple of fights coming out of the Contender Series and all of that. But now it seems like he's starting to string these things together and get some momentum forward. But I'm rolling with Da Un Jung, man. I'm at least leaning that way, my man. He's a little more well-rounded on that, a little more poised, experienced, and we don't have that psychological issues that I think we have with the Kennedy, my man. Who are you leaning towards in this fight?
Yeah, on very first optics, I'm kind of leaning towards Nchekwe for like a KO finish or something along that line, just because he has the power. He has that kind of new style, that new flash that we're kind of seeing. But if the more I looked into this one, I'm leaning towards Da Un Jung of this one as well, man. I agree with you 100%. He's a little more well-rounded, a little more veteran in the game, has that mindset already buckled down, where in Nchekwe, we've seen him struggle when the water gets deep. And I definitely think Da Un Jung can bring that deep water for him. So
not only can he bring the deep water, I'm sure my man can bring some bloody waters too, because that dude got some pop in his punch. You dig? AJ, there are it looks like 6 ranked fighters on this card alone. 3 on the main card, 3 in the prelims. Now I wanted to ask you really quickly about somebody who we just saw at UFC 266, I believe, Cynthia Calvillo, when she got basically demolished by Jessica Andrade. It was not a good outing for her, but she's back, man. She's back, and she's fighting Andrea Lee on short notice. This is number 5 in Calvillo versus number 13 in Andrea Lee at women's flyweight. The question that I have to you, man, is she seems very excited to bounce back immediately after that kind of, lopsided loss that she had. I think this is a much better matchup against Andrea Lee, but psychologically, my man, can you back Calvillo in this fight knowing how bad she got starched in her last fight? And there was all that talk of like, oh yeah, I'm about to come in this and do this and that, and had a very poor performance. It's like, all right, the odds makers, even though she is a minus 120 favorite, so it's like kind of interesting, but it's like you would think the odds makers too would even be like, all right, we're gonna kind of push the odds a little differently this time around. Are you surprised to see the odds, and can you back Calvillo psychologically in this one?
It is a little harder for me to back Calvillo psychologically, especially with all the shit talk that was going on before, all the brazen talk that she had to just absolutely get handled. It was a little disheartening, but I do think the KGB Lee fight is a little bit not necessarily easier for her, but stylistically better matchup at least going forward. KGB Lee, Andrea Lee has been not as on top of the game as she lately has been, or as she once was previously. Lately, she's been a little bit lackluster. That's why her number has really started to drop going forward. So I think Calvillo has a little bit better of a shot on this one. I honestly would too also have her as the favorite going for this one, even with the loss she just had. I'm leaning a little bit more towards Calvillo in this one, although I do love the striking of Lee. I love the aggression she keeps forward. I just think Calvillo is a little bit too much of a dog in this one. What do you think?
Well, I think that it's interesting because I basically completely agree with you. I think that Andrea Lee in the striking department probably holds the edge. Both of them are good grapplers, but Calvillo is supposed to be known as the best wrestler in the women's flyweight division, which is interesting because is it true? Is she a better wrestler than Shevchenko? I mean, I'm not sure. If we're talking about pure wrestling, that's a different thing than MMA wrestling too. So we're just talking about different things here. But I'm interested to see how she bounces back. That's what I'm going to say on this one, man. I'm backing Calvillo because I think her grappling could be a little too much for Andrea Lee. But like we saw in the Andrade fight, you got to be able to close the distance to begin to grapple before you can even start, with that thought process. So I think I'll probably lean towards Calvillo, but it's a little risky. I will say this one's a little riskier than it looks like on paper. And then lastly, AJ, man, you might not be a big fan of this fighter, but I am a huge fan of this fighter. She's been very inactive in her career. Her last fight saw her getting her nose smashed up by Miranda Maverick in Fight Island. She's never fought in the United States, so this is going to be her U.S. debut here in Las Vegas. But I'm talking about Liana Jojua, man. She is a Georgian fighter. Unfortunately, right now, I believe she has the worst record of all the Georgian fighters on the UFC roster, but everybody else that is hailing out of Georgia, and I'm not talking about Georgia, USA, folks. I'm talking about the real Georgia, the country of Georgia. They're absolute killers over there, man. Great martial artists, and I'm looking forward to seeing her get back to her winning ways against Courtney Casey, who is, believe it or not, my man, 9-9 in her MMA career. Interesting, because right there at 500, but that goes to show you got a lot of room to improve, my man. What do you think about this matchup, my man? Or let me ask you this. I don't know why I'm such a fan of Liana Jojua. I love her striking. I love, you know what I mean? She, the whole package and all that, man. Are you familiar with Jojua, man? Are you a fan? What are we thinking here?
Familiar, yes, not super in-depth, though, man. I do like Liana Jojua. Just like you said, she's been a little inactive as of late. And with the amount of talent that is like super high-packed on the top of the 125-pound division, it's hard to really notice those other ones that are trying to make their way up through the pack. And like you said, Liana Jojua is coming out of Georgia, man. They are absolutely I'm trying to the bald dude that's coming out of Georgia, I'm trying to remember his name. I have been for the last Giga, thank you, bro. Thank you. We bring him up all the time. He's one of the top tier strikers, and Liana Jojua can easily hold her own, at least in the women's division of top of the strikers, man. Crazy combos, fast hand speed. She has a whole package, at least as far as striking. Not as higher on as you are, Derick, but still very well known. And I'm excited to see this one too. Courtney Casey, it's about that time to prove whether she's a real deal or dropping below 500 and going to catch that ban hammer from Uncle Dana. It's going to be interesting to see what's really bringing this fight out, man.
Absolutely, man. And we just saw nobody's safe, even after a win. Randa Marcos, who was on a 4-fight losing skid, right? She actually gets a win against Lavina Souza and then gets cut from the UFC. So it's like, goddamn, man. And what a run, man. So, all love to Randa the Quiet Storm Marcos, man. I will say that. And then, we just got a couple other good ones, man. Thiago Moises versus Joel Alvarez. Joel Alvarez is lesser of a name than any of the people Moises has fought. I mean, coming off of a loss to Makhachev and then having to fight an unranked guy, it goes to show you what Makhachev can do to your career. And then, yeah, man, so we'll get into all the other stuff here in the actual sleepers, AJ. So why don't you kick it off, my man? I will say that we have two really good ones here, but you have one that I'm a big fan of both of these guys, but I'm more of a fan of the biggest, tallest, and longest featherweight in the UFC right now, in Sean Woodson versus Colin Anglin, my man. Big featherweight matchup. What made this pop out to you on paper and in real life? What are we thinking, brother?
Big featherweight matchup here, Derick. Two dudes. And I picked this one. So when I was going forward earlier in the show, I said I almost made that Nchukwu versus Darwin Jung fight as my sleeper. A little too easy. There was another one that got moved up to the main card where I was like, damn, that's going to be a banger as well. There's a lot of bangers on this prelim. But why I went with this fight, Derick, specifically is because these dudes are the future of the division as well as the future of the UFC going forward, whether they stay in the 145-pound class or not. Wherever they go, both of these dudes have a very, very good long time in the UFC. And it's going to be exciting fights from basically now on. Even their fights before are still very exciting. Woodson, he's very long, lanky, switch stance fighter, has some pop in that left hand. And not only is he good in the stand-up, but he is down for a war. And he'll audibly let you know. He'll tell you, we were talking shit, we getting in here. Very slick submissions, can hit them any time of the fight. This dude is very well talented, young in the game. So like I said, very, very promising future coming forward. Anglin, also very well-rounded, very game for a war. Both of these dudes are down to sit with their foot in the tire and start swinging for the fences. Anglin is very physically strong. What I like most about him is his mental game, man. He's physically strong, but he's also mentally strong. He's able to slow the game down, see the shots coming, react. His heart was tested in his last fight, and he proved to be really solid. I can't remember right now. I don't have the note, but I think he lost it still on a decision. But he was tested early in that first round and was able to make it to the decision, if it was this decision. Go ahead.
Not quite,
No,
brother.
not.
Yeah, he got knocked out in the second round by Melsik
Oh,
Baghdasaryan.
okay.
Yeah, it was an ugly look. But Colin Anglin is a savage. I'm with you there.
He is a savage, but he should have been knocked out in the first, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Like he was hurt bad and was able to kind of stick it out, grind it out. Either way, this dude is an absolute savage. This is a sleeper to me, Derick, because not only do these guys have a long future in the UFC, but they're down to work for that bonus. You know, they're trying to get that money. We have a dogfight in our hands. I have Woodson with the speed advantage and Anglin with the power advantage. But in Derick, in this fight, who do you have as the bigger dog going forward?
You know what, man? I'd have to give that to Collin Anglin because we saw what happened with Sean Woodson in his last fight against Yusuf Zalal. Zalal was able to just like push him up against the cage time and time and time again, and he had to really fight to work to win a split decision. But for Collin Anglin, man, I mean, listen, Baghdasaryan is a monster, man. That was a tough matchup for a UFC debut right there. But if you look at his other 4 fights in that span, unanimous decision win, KO round 2, KO round 2, KO round 1. Like, this dude brings heat. He is a dog. He is a savage, and he just has a little more of a dog mentality to me, on paper, I guess I should say, than Sean Woodson. But I will say, man, I just wanted to give out the stats on this because I love it. 6'2" at featherweight, tallest featherweight in the UFC, and he's the longest 145er. I don't have his reach off the top of my head right now, but listen, my man, it's gonna be a fun matchup. It's gonna be a very fun matchup. My question to you on this one, AJ, is 16. They're 16-3 combined right here, both 4-1 in their last 5. Do you think that if Collin Anglin were to win this fight, my man, and the odds right here are, let me see, for the over-under on this one is 2.5 rounds, minus 210 for the over, plus 170 for the under. If Collin Anglin were to win this fight in impressive fashion, does he take a major leap in the featherweight division? Sean Woodson kind of is already a name. Collin Anglin, nobody knows about this dude, except us, you feel me, like the hardcores. What do you think?
I do think I think so, man. Especially for how good Sean Woodson looks when he's in there. Yeah. Very tall, powerful. He has that presence where he's willing to take that center of the octagon. If Collin Anglin is able to get it done, I think he has a huge jump up going forward. I know they're both ranked pretty low as far as the worldwide rankings on Tapology as well as the UFC rankings. But I do think we're going to see a big jump for either of these fighters, to be honest, going forward, especially depending on who their next fighter is they get.
Absolutely. I just personally think Sean Woodson, man, the UFC at least, if someone gets a big win over them, they're like, oh, you beat Sean Woodson like that? Okay, you know what I mean? Which kind of sucks for him because he's so young in his career still. But nonetheless, going to be a banger of a matchup right there, folks. And don't forget that for Collin Anglin, he has a bomb of a right hand. So if that thing lands, it's going to be a short night. My sleeper that I got up here, folks, is 2 banging ass fighters right here. But I will say one of these dudes we haven't seen in quite some time. And you might know him for his big win over Lando Groovy Venata a couple years back, man. But I got Marc Jacasey versus Rafael Alves, man. Jacasey 14-4. Rafael Alves 19-10. Both of them are fighting at 155. This is going to be the second fight in Alves' UFC career because his first fight, a UFC debut, was a tough one, man. He fought Damir Ismagulov, which, come on, man. That's not fair. But nonetheless, what stands out to me about this fight, my man, is that Marc Jacasey, his nickname is Bone Crusher for a reason. He's got crazy calf kicks, my man, great spinning attacks, and great just overall striking, a great repertoire of different offensive approaches that he could take to the game. But one thing that he does rely on is that calf kick for sure. It's kind of a primary weapon of him. And 50% of his wins have come via stoppage, so he knows how to get you out of there. But this is a dude, my man, who is 2-3 in his last 5, but he's fought killers. He lost a decision to Rafael Fiziev, right, out of Tiger Muay Thai, the Muay Thai coach out there, killer. He got the big win over Lando Venata. He got a win over Joe Duffy, and his 2 other losses are to Nasrat Hakparas and Dan Hooker. So if you're looking at the actual resume of a Marc Jacasey, he's had to fight all of these killers who have come to make big names. Basically, even though he lost these fights, those losses have aged well because the other fighters are so good that we have seen as time has moved on. Nonetheless, on here, my man, for Marc Jacasey, it's going to be a tough test against Rafael Alves because this man is the definition of explosive, right? He came into his fight against Damir Ismagulov, man, and he did 3 or 4 backflips before the fight even started. Came out, blitzed Ismagulov, dropped him, something that nobody is doing to Ismagulov. This is a dude who's a former, I believe, M1 champion or whatever the case may be, former regional champion. Dude is very accredited and very established in the fight game. Came in, dropped him like it was nobody's business. Yes, he got wrestled and dominated and ragdolled for the rest of the fight. But the point is he has the capability to take your head off with any punch, with any blitz. And Marc Jacasey, who is not that same type of fighter, is going to have to find a way to kind of negate that, or find a way to navigate around that. So the point that I have here on this one, AJ, is basically the first person to really land clean, I think, wins in this fight, my man. I think it has that type of capability. I want to ask you on this, for Rafael Alves, who has some of the heaviest kicks, strikes, blitzing attacks that you will see in the game, my man. Do you think that outside of that rough UFC debut, Alves is going to be somebody that people are going to really need to keep an eye on? Marc Jacasey, he's already had his time in the limelight. People already know who he is. Alves is new on the scene. What do you think about that, brother?
I think so, man, especially in the lightweight division. We have a lot of technicians. We have people who are really good at certain things. We don't really have that blitz style of big power puncher. You know, this dude is thick. Them legs he's part of the quad squad all day. Like, this dude has some serious meat behind him, and he's throwing heat, dude. It's crazy. He reminds me of a prime Tyron Woodley. You know, when Tyron was able to let things come back and then he just blitzes on you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this dude has crazy, crazy power. Little bit limited in the ground game, but very dominant in the stand-up. Very fast kicks. He has that wide stance we like to see in and out. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how he does the longevity-wise of his career.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So I will just say this. I agree with you in the limitations on the ground game, but I also kind of have to take a push back because 14 of his 19 wins have come via stoppage, 7 KO, 7 submissions. So he's well-versed. He can get the job done. But I do agree, when someone has good top control on him, it starts to become a little bit of a problem. But he can't submit you off of his back. That's not going to be an issue for him. Listen, man, you said he reminds you of T. Woodley, right? You know, I thought maybe just because he's Brazilian, I was like, this is basically a smaller version of a Thiago Santos, right? You know what I'm saying? More or less. We're kind of in that same frame. But either way, folks, we got 2 bangers for sleepers for you guys. So let's not forget, these are both prelim fights. Marc Jacasey versus Rafael Alves, and we got Sean Woodson versus Colin Anglin. So in between those, you have the Liana Jojua fight that I was telling you guys about. So basically, the first 4 fights, all sleepers for you guys. There you go. You're welcome. We do the homework for you guys so you can be entertained come fight night. So if you like the sleepers, folks, drop a like, subscribe, send the show to your friends. Rate us on Apple Podcasts. Rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts if you want to show some love. You don't even got to send us no money. Just give us good ratings, all that. But, please, if you want to send some money, go ahead. You know what I'm saying? Cash App, all that good stuff. All in the show description below. All right, AJ. I think it's about that time, brother. Let's get into some main card.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Okay, my man, this is going to be a banger to kick off the main card. We got number 15, Song Yadong, the Kung Fu Monkey, who is a minus 135 favorite with a plus 115 comeback against Julio Arce, my man. And this is interesting to me because it feels like Song has gotten a lot of momentum after that big win over Casey Kenny on that pay-per-view earlier in the year, you know what I mean? As far as Arce, this is somebody who I feel like he's a UFC veteran, right? In my head, I'm like, okay, Arce, UFC vet, he's been doing all this good stuff, you know what I mean? He's established, people should know who he is. But when you look at his UFC record, he's only 4-2, so he only has 6 fights in the UFC. So if you think about it, you're like, well, this man hasn't really been here that long. The big caveat for this fight, AJ, is that aside from his last fight against Andre Ewell, he's notoriously been a 145er. You know, he's a featherweight who has moved down to bantamweight. So this is his second fight in his UFC bantamweight career. But it should be a fun one either way, my man. So I want to start off by saying this. I was super impressed by the Kung Fu Monkey, Song Yadong, in his last fight against Casey Kenny. Speed off the hook, combinations off the hook, pressure off the hook. But my question to you on this one, my man, is that Arce is a little bit of a different challenge for Yadong because I think he's probably going to be one of the most technical fighters that Yadong has fought in the UFC thus far. So you can have all of that speed, all of the combinations, but what's one thing that beats speed, AJ? Timing, right? And Arce has timing. What do you think about this matchup, my man? Do you think Arce is as technical as I'm making him out to be?
Yeah, Derick, I agree with you. You're saying technical. The word I wrote down is cerebral. This dude, literally, you can see him when he's fighting, he's making the reads. You can see his brain working. A lot of the times we talk about when you're thinking in a fight, it's bad, or you need to be in that flow state. So that way, you're just reacting, not necessarily thinking. Arce is the other kind of fighter, the mental fighter, the guy who's able to break things down, see them coming and set up those traps, set up that game plan, to get things going, dude. This dude, Arce, I also hold him as like what I would consider a veteran in the UFC. But like you said, not that many fights. And I think this is one of those fights that we're going to be able to see him kind of blossom into that guy, that crowd pleaser that everyone likes seeing. Because Song Yadong absolutely brings it, bro. Fighting out of, I believe it's Team Alpha Male. Yeah, fighting out of Team Alpha Male. This dude has very sharp striking, very good ground game, kind of has that confidence to go with everything. And then the momentum off of his last fight against Casey Kenny, man, this dude has everything you want in an opponent, so that way you can propel yourself even higher into the upper echelon of the division, man. I definitely agree. I think Julio Arce is a little more technical, a little more cerebral. He's going to be making those reads that Song Yadong has, even though I give Song basically the advantage on the striking, power, speed, kind of all there. It's going to be interesting to see who has the advantage on the ground. Who do you give that to, Derick?
It's going to be interesting because, like, one of the things that I wrote down for this one is that neither of these fighters really want to take it to the ground. If they're going to have it their way, it's going to be a technical, just kind of boxing match, you know. But for Song Yadong, I think he's a little more willing to sit and trade than Arce is. Arce is more of that technical, we're going to box with you. We're going to move. I'm going to take a step back. It's not going to be, first one who takes a step back is a bitch or nothing. It's not going to be one of those, man. It's going to be, let's be technical. Let's figure it out. We have 3 rounds. Let's work with all 3 of these rounds over here. And speaking of rounds, AJ, the over-under on this one is 2.5 rounds, minus 185 to go over, plus 155 for the under. What do you like on that one, over or under?
I like the under on that one, Derick.
Ooh, okay.
Me personally, I have this one at about 2 rounds as well.
Mm-hmm.
Middle of that 2 rounds, 2.5. That sounds perfect to me. I'm taking the under. Seems like when you get 2 of these dudes, Song throwing absolute heat and crazy power punches, and then Julio Arce actually doing the technician, has those very nice counter shots. I think this one's going to go under. What about you?
Okay, I'm taking the over on this one, man. I think Arce is going to be a little too technical. He's not going to be there for Yadong to be able to land the big bomb on him. And I think Yadong is going to get hit with some big bombs by Arce. Arce has a really, really good crispy left cross and a right hook combo. But I think Yadong is going to be able to walk through him, man. He's tough. And bold prediction from you, as always, my man. Both of these fighters, in terms of being finished in their career, have only been finished once, but for both of them. So 2 combined between the 2. Yadong has only been knocked out once, never been submitted, and Arce has never been knocked out, only submitted once in his career. So it'd be interesting to see the under go happen. I mean, crazier things have happened in the UFC and MMA in general, but I like the over on this one. I think it's going to be technical. AJ, man, Song Yadong, he showed impeccable footwork as of late, right? Earlier in his career, he wasn't that guy. He was that, I'm going to walk forward and brawl with you. You know what I mean? I want to ask you, do you think that as he's getting a little bit older, this dude is super young, right? So he's kind of developing on the fly, right? This dude is only 23 years old. So as he gets a little more experienced, more mature in his career, do you think he's saying, okay, I need to take a step back from the brawling ways and I need to kind of set up traps myself, use my footwork, get in and out, not get hit as much? He gets hit a little bit more than Arce, man. Yadong is kind of hittable, you know what I'm saying, when it comes down to it, but he has a great granite chin. Do you see some of that evolution in his game?
I do. Yeah, man. I do see a lot of that evolution. We saw kind of the bad part about that in the Kyler Phillips. He was just getting pieced up way too much, lost that unanimous decision. But I do think I credit a lot of that to the alpha male camp that he has behind him, because you really like those fighters who naturally embrace that chaos, embrace that dog of, I'm going to walk you down, I'm going to swing for the fences. And then you teach them, okay, back off a little. Let's not let you get hit as much. Kind of that other way. Whereas you don't want the opposite. You don't want somebody who's scared to go in there and then have to teach him to be a dog. You either have that aspect or not, and Song does have that, but I am glad to see that he's able to get that footwork, that lateral movement going. He circles out very, very nicely. I like seeing that going forward. I credit a lot of it to his camp as well, because he is very, very young, so it's hard to learn that on your own when you're young. Absolutely. So like I said, alpha male's doing him well out there.
Absolutely. So what it comes down to in this matchup, AJ, is orthodox fighter in Song Yadong versus a southpaw in Arce. That means the body kick is going to be open all day. Watch the liver if your name is Song Yadong. But ultimately, my man, I think this is just going to be a very technical fight. Number 15 is Song Yadong. So Arce has an opportunity to jump into the rankings if he can get a win here. Ultimately, though, he is the underdog. So we're going to see how this one plays out. And when it comes lastly down to takedown defense, if this fight does hit the mat, Yadong has a 60% takedown defense and Arce with 93%, my man. So like I said, doesn't really like to get it to the mat too often. 3-1-1 is Yadong in his last 5. 3-2 is Julio Arce. Someone's got to kind of get back to their winning ways. We'll see who it is. AJ, who do you have in this one and why?
Yeah, man, I think this one's going to be a standing and trading battle. I'm very excited for this one. I don't really picture either of these fighters taking a shot, so I think we're in it for a lot of fun on this one. But me personally, Derick, I'm going Song Yadong, and I said it before. I'm going round 2 with a KO finish, man.
Okay.
KO finish for Song Yadong. I think it's going to be crazy, but don't get me wrong. I think Arce can also get it done. A little more technical, but I'm rocking with the KO power. What about you, Derick?
You know what, man? I think I'm going to have to go underdog on this one. I'm rolling with Arce, and the reason why is because I'm taking just kind of a bet on him being a little more technical is going to be his key to victory, the same way that Yadong, I believe he was an underdog against Casey Kenny. And what do we see? Casey Kenny needed to sit down on his shots, and Yadong was just too fast. He was able to hit him with the big combos after. I think it's going to be something similar to that effect, except you're not going to be faster than Song Yadong. That's not going to happen. However, like I set it up in the beginning, folks, timing beats speed, and I think Arce has timing, very cerebral, very smart fighter. So I'm going to rock with him. I'm rocking with the over 2.5 rounds. AJ's rolling with the under 2.5 rounds. KO round 2. So folks, take that for what it's worth. Enough said. We move on to the next one, my man. All right, AJ. So this next fight that we have right here is a prelim banger that got moved up to the main card because Roman Dolidze versus Kyle Dawkins, a middleweight matchup, got scrapped. Dolidze, I believe he had a coach test positive for COVID, so you know how that goes, man. Same thing, we got a bunch of big fights that were coming up here in the next couple of weeks, got canceled for the same reason, so we'll announce those when it comes. But AJ, my man, we got Caramel Thunder, Miguel Baeza, my man, 10-1 in his MMA career, 3-1 in the UFC, minus 150 favorite, deservedly so. But he is coming up against a fan favorite, one of the favorites here on this platform, in Khaos the Ox Fighter Williams with the plus 125 comeback, AJ. Khaos Williams showed us something a little bit different in his last fight, my man, in his fight against Semi the Jedi, the man who was just starching people with one punch. It seems like he just hits them with that right hand and they go to sleep. But Khaos Williams was able to edge him out with the decision. We know one thing about Khaos Williams, my man. He has a big right hand, massive power, likes blitzing combos. But Miguel Baeza is probably the worst matchup that we could have for this guy because I believe, AJ here, and I don't want to speak too strongly here, Baez is the full package, brother. I truly believe that. He lost his last fight to Santiago Ponzinibbio, a true veteran, a man who's like, give me top 10 fighters, a man who's been in the rankings forever. And listen, man, the dude is 29 years old. Like I said, 11 fights in his MMA career. It's understandable to have that hiccup against such a veteran of the game. But aside from that, I think that was the one loss that he needed to become that next evolution of the fighter he is. I think this man has future champion written all over him, my man. Like, I don't even think it's going to be a question. It's a matter of when as opposed to if. But he has to get through Khaos Williams first, my man. So tell me off the bat, AJ, because I know you're a fan of Khaos, what is one thing that Baeza needs to really watch for to avoid going to sleep here against Khaos Williams, a man who could put you out with just one shot? What do you think?
I agree with you, Derick. I do think Baeza is the full package, especially on the feet, on the ground. However this dude wants to get done, he's very slick. I think his only biggest flaw in the game plan is dumping that gas tank, and we really saw Ponzinibbio able to take that over. Once he was able to survive that first round of chaos that Baeza was bringing, that Caramel Thunder was bringing, then he was able to start really working that shots. And the only thing I didn't like about Baeza's style is he paused at that jab. He'll keep his guard high. I'm a big fan of keeping your hands right above, about eyebrow level. And he'll keep one hand up, perfect, nice height, but he'll paw at the jab with the other one. And every time he sees that paw or that jab coming, he tries to paw it in like he's holding mitts for somebody. He sees that jab coming, he hits that hand going forward. All that does is set up once you hit that jab, you give one feint, they throw that hand out, come around the top with the left check, left hook. Watch out for that left hook of Khaos Williams because we all know he has power in the right hand, but he also has power in his left as well, man. I could easily see a KO happening here. And we know Miguel Baez, he's going to be spamming that leg kick right from the jump. So if he throws a leg kick kind of unblocked or unset up, and then Khaos Williams is able to get him biting on that feint, pawing at that jab, oh, it's going to be interesting to see how this fight does, man. This was that one fight I was talking about before that made it to the actual main card that I wanted to be a sleeper, but it's almost too easy. It's almost a layup, man. This fight's going to be absolutely crazy. What do you think, Derick? What's one way Khaos can get it done against Baeza in this fight? Because I agree with you. This dude is a total package and has champ mode made for him.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Well, it's funny because I agree with what you said. It's literally the top note that I have on Khaos Williams. It says, watch for his left hook, money sign, money sign, money sign. Like this left hook is money, bro. Like, that's the thing you got to be careful for because what he'll do is he will set that thing up for you, right? Get you so worried about that right hand, then just come with that big left hook. Ooh, my man. Listen, dude, he's 12-2, 6 knockouts, 1 submission, 5 decisions. So it's not necessarily like Khaos Williams is this I touch you, you go to sleep fighter, but he has the capacity because he's fast, he's technical to a degree, right? And, the accuracy is what lends to these KOs oftentimes. I think the big things that Baeza needs to watch for is not allowing himself to get into a firefight. I think if he wants to win, you stay at distance, you work the calf, you start with the calf and work your way up. That's basically his game plan every single time. And really, really put money in the bank into that calf in the first 2 rounds, because if you do that, there is no more pop on that right hand, on that left hook come round, late round 2, early round 3, late round 3, right? So do that. And the other approach is, hey, I don't have to stand with you. I'm a BJJ black belt. I'll take you to the ground and let's see what you could do off your back. You know what I mean? But AJ, I have to ask you a question, because there's one man who is infamous on this platform. We talk about him oftentimes when we're talking about how fighters should not defend in terms of striking. And that's when the chin is sky high. And that's when, you pull a Dusko Todorovic, right? Khaos Williams has some Dusko in him, my man. After his long combos, that chin is sky high. And in his last fight against Semi, let's say he got popped a couple times, man. Clean, where his jaw is just high and just doop. He's able to take it, though, my man. He's never been knocked out. Neither has Miguel Baeza. So that's one of those questions where it's like both of these granite chin dudes going at it, man. It's going to be very, very interesting to see. Big question here on this one, AJ. How is the teep of Miguel Baeza, which is a big weapon that he uses often, going to impact the offensive approach of a Khaos Williams? Because Khaos has the striking advantage, or he has the reach advantage, 77 inches to 74 inches for Baeza. But that teep, feet are longer than, or legs are longer than arms and whatnot, my man. Do you think that's going to make it troublesome for Williams to be able to close the distance?
I do, man. I think it's a big weapon that Baeza needs to utilize, especially going low to the calf, and then thinking, have Williams thinking, okay, I'm gonna go low, but boom, hit him in the chest with that teep kick, hit him in thighs, keep that basically as your jab, as your push jab, keeping him away. I think it's a very big weapon that we're gonna see utilized. Now, how does Khaos Williams get around it? That's the hard part. That's the one we got to figure out, because of that lateral movement. Williams, I have that exact same note about Khaos Williams. He has these long combos, beautiful long combos, and as long as he's throwing, he can't get hit. Yeah. But the second he stops, that chin is sky high, and he's sitting there taking pictures, admiring his work he just did. He's like, yeah, I just hit an 8-punch combo. Man, I'm feeling good. Chin is up in the air right there. It has that great blitz style, very good power, very, very great boxing as far as when the punches are coming out and being thrown. Those hands are coming right back. They're good technique until that combo ends, and he's like, yeah. You can tell he gets a little excited about it. He gets caught at the end of his combos, especially in that Semmelsberger fight, but it's going to be interesting how he's able to deal with the legs, because like you said, he does have that reach advantage, but how are the legs going to be affecting this fight going forward is what I'm interested to see.
Yeah, man. Me too, honestly. It's going to be the big question. We have no answers here, folks. Only questions. It's going to be a fun matchup. I think the biggest question that I have, which might go unanswered, but I guess this is the last one to leave on before we actually talk, who wins and why. Both of these fighters do their best work when they're leading the dance, but you can't both lead the dance in one fight, right? So the question is, who do you think is going to fight the best if they're on the back foot, Baeza or Williams? What do you think?
I also had an iteration of that question for you, Derick. I honestly think Williams will be fighting better off of the back foot. He's willing to be able to let Baeza do his work, kind of play that back and forth motion. But when Williams does get far back, he blitzes forward, and that's when he's at his most dangerous. Where Baeza, he's really, really good off his front foot, doesn't necessarily have the power or the check hook ability in the counter strike. Who do you think is going to be leading more of the dance on that? That's what I wanted to ask you. Who's going to be leading the dance more often in this fight going forward?
I think Baez is going to start and Williams is going to finish it. And the reason why I say that is because we saw it in the Matt Brown fight. We saw in the Ponzinibbio fight that Baeza doesn't he's a bully and he doesn't like to get bullied. And that's what they say. Bullies, if you push back against the bully, they'll always wilt, right? Because they're not used to someone pushing back against them. And we saw in both of those fights, Ponzinibbio, dude, I think Ponzinibbio was only 6 feet tall compared to the 6'3", 6'2" Baeza. He was way smaller and he was walking him down come the end of round 2, round 3, my man. So I think Williams will be able to eventually get the fight where he wants it, but Baeza is going to start strong and you're not going to be able to pressure forward that way unless you can get through those calf kicks. And Ponzinibbio was a rare case, man. He ate so many calf kicks and he was still able to push forward. Not every fighter can do that, my man. Not everyone is as mentally tough as the Argentine dagger. So 100% takedown defense for Baeza, 0% for Khaos Williams. I never really know what they mean when they say that in the UFC stats. I don't know what that means. Has no one ever attempted to take down on him? I know most of his fights he's on the feet, so I guess we'll see. 4-1 are both of these fighters in their last 5. Notable wins for Baeza is Takashi Sato and Matt Brown. I mean, come on. You finished the immortal Matt Brown. What are we talking about here? But for our middleweight, Khaos Williams, Abdul Razak Al Hassan, right? That KO round 1 against him. And then Alex the Great White Morono, KO round 1, my man. Who wins this fight and why, AJ?
Yeah, man, this was one of those ones where I had a little bit of trouble going back and forth, trying to think of who's going to do it, how it's going to get done. This fight's going to be very fun from the jump. But me personally, man, I'm going Khaos Williams by decision. I'm rocking with the underdog on this one, man. I'm going decision. I think it's going to be a very, very long fight, kind of back and forth with Baeza gassing out. As long as Khaos can withstand that first round of trouble, then I think it's going to be better, smoother sailing for him going forward. I'm going Williams by decision. What about you, Derick?
Okay, well, I'm going to rock with Baeza here. Like I said in the beginning, I think he's the full package. I think that as long as he could stay away from that big right cross of Khaos Williams, I think he'll be safe. I think he has more weapons, and he can take it to the ground if he needs to. I don't know if Williams can really do that. Baeza has really good hips, man. He gets down on those sprawls. And you already answered another question for me, my man. And I'm going Baeza by decision as well, man. I think that this one's going to last a while. But you answered another question for me because the over-under on this fight is... Actually, guess the over-under, AJ. What do you think the over-under is on this one for rounds?
Oof. Honestly, I'd probably say about 1.5.
Yeah, you've been on the money with these ones. Yeah, 1.5 for this one, my man. Minus 175 for the over and plus 145 for the under. So I'm with the odds makers. I think it's going over a round and a half. But I think it's going to go full decision. You know, they're probably thinking someone's getting stopped earlier in this fight. We'll see what happens. I'm rolling with the over. You're rolling with the over. Listen, cash it in, folks. What else do I need to say? All right, AJ, before we move on to this next one, my man, drop a like, folks. Subscribe if you watch and all the good stuff. You hear me say it time and time again. But I wanted to set up, AJ, we were just talking about Cyborg and Bellator and all that stuff and how, I mean, listen, man, we got a couple other fun fights on that card, right? We got the Valerie Laredas, who's 3-1 versus a Taylor Turner, 5-7, right? So you're clearly trying to build up your prospect, giving them fighters under 500, you know. You got the... Aaron Pico fighting, you know what I mean? That's a big fight. Tyrell Fortune, that's a big fight. You know, these are all coming up, right? But in Bellator, we see it far too often where, I mean, listen, man, poor records, inexperienced fighters, it's a different promotion. And there's no hate that I'm trying to aim towards anybody. I'm just kind of observing this is what it is. Now, in the UFC, you often don't see these types of matchups. But today we got one, my man. And it's in this one division that it seems like it just won't go away. We pronounced it dead months ago, but somehow, some way, it keeps making its way back. So let me bring it up, my man. We have Felicia, the Phenom Spencer, women's featherweight matchup. She's a minus 300 favorite with the plus 240 comeback versus Leah Letson, my man. Neatus is her nickname. I don't really know what that means, but Leah Letson. If you see the photo right here, if you're watching, folks, if you're listening, I will describe it. It is it's like Leah Letson, right? Back in a couple years back when she was fighting out of Tough 28, the Ultimate Fighter. If you don't know what that is, and for those who are watching, you can clearly see. I mean, this is like an old photo. You know what I mean? It's like, where did we dig this one up from? Leah Letson has not fought in 3 years, my man. Listen, she's 5-1 in her MMA career. She's technically 1-0 in the UFC with the win over Julia Stoliarenko or Julija or however you would like to say that. But nonetheless, my man, this is somebody who, needless to say, shouldn't be in the UFC. I don't know, man. She had like an interesting fight against Macy Chasson in Tough. You know, she lost that fight. She got finished. I don't know, man. It's just an interesting one to me because, AJ, this is Bellator vibes written all over it. I don't want to discount or dismiss anybody, but if you're Felicia Spencer, how do you go from fighting Cyborg for a championship, fighting Nunez for a championship, or I don't know if I think Cyborg might have been for a championship, but you fought two of the best to do it in that weight class. Norma Dumont, you got a split decision loss on that one, right? So you go from fighting basically the top 3 fighters in the division and then Leah Letson. How did this happen? Where are we going with this division? Is this a good sign or a bad sign to you, AJ? Because all this is telling me is that they want to keep this alive long enough to potentially sign Kayla Harrison, and if she doesn't come over, you got to pronounce it dead. What are we talking about? What do you think?
That's exactly what I was thinking, Derick. That's what it feels like they're setting up. They're just kind of like, yo, we just need bodies.
Yeah.
Anybody that wants to fight in the 145 women pound division, please come on. We need people. We need people, especially trying to sign up that Kayla Harrison fight. Honestly, I think Leah Letson could be fighting a weight class down. I know their weight classes in the tough, in the Ultimate Fighter, they're a little off because they're not consistently cutting weight for however many weeks it is, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is. So they have to fight those weight classes above. A lot of the time we'll see them come into the UFC and then drop down to what their normal weight class would be, depending on how you want to consider that. But I do think this is kind of one of those gimmies for Felicia Spencer where they're like, all right, hey, yo, you've done us a lot of favors. You had a very close fight against Norma Dumont. We're going to give you one. We're going to give you kind of Leah Letson to kind of see. And that's no disrespect to Leah Letson because she's absolutely a killer. She just hasn't fought in 3 years. It's just hard to say how good she is, how good she was. Or it's easy to say how good she was, but it's how good is she now that she's had that 3-year layoff. We've seen a lot of people either do amazing off of their time away or not so much, and they come back with a lot of ring rust. It's kind of up in the air. You don't really know where to go with this one. I do think they're just trying to get bodies in the count so that way we can sign up Kayla Harrison, sign up some big names to finally get somebody to fight Amanda Nunes that's actually deserving of it. What do you think, Derick?
Everything you said is spot on, my man. We haven't seen her in 3 years. It's a bunch of what ifs on this one. A lot of people, clearly the odds minus 300 for Spencer. They don't think that Letson really has a chance in this fight. But before we move on and actually break it down, I just have one last question in regards to the future of these fighters, man. Felicia Spencer, if you're the UFC, do you not just say, like, dude, just cut down to 135? Like, unless she can't make the weight class. But, like, I don't understand because there's no rankings for this weight class. You're not technically going to be fighting for a championship. Amanda Nunes, I just think that she's not going to be defending this featherweight championship again, unless it's going to be just like a layup, you know what I'm saying, where she's like, all right, let me just get this girl out of here so I can go defend my 135 or whatever. I just don't see it happening. I don't understand. It feels like these are pointless fights. It doesn't feel like there's anything at stake. That's really what it comes down to for me. Are we fighting for something, or are you just fighting just to fight? Which is like totally cool too. But then again, why would you not go to another promotion where you can be like featured? Why don't you go to the PFL? You know what I'm saying? And they'll be like, all right, obviously they're under UFC contract, all that. UFC is where people want to be, I guess. Do you have any take on that? What do you think, brother?
Yeah, it's like, do you want to be a C-level fighter in the NBA or a C-level player in the NBA, or go across to the European division to be a star, where still nobody knows you either way? I don't know. That's hard. Honestly, I'd rather take the NBA. To be honest, I'd rather be in the top division, the top peak, no matter what, even if you're just cashing paychecks on the bench. Oh, well, that's what I guess. But at the same point, I'd also rather play. So that's hard, man. It's a bunch of bloodless over here, Derick.
Exactly. And I'm with you right here. So let's break it down, my man. Felicia Spencer, she's very experienced against some of the UFC's best. Vast array of kicks from her Taekwondo background, you know what I mean? She's kind of a slow fighter for the division. She's kind of slow. Rudimentary boxing, we've seen that time and time again. Her kicks are much better than her hands. But at the end of the day, she has good clinch work. You know what I mean? She does follow her opponents a little bit, but she can get you to the ground. She can ground and pound you. That's really the keys to victory, man. She's going to kick you from afar, keep you at range, get in close. It's like, and I love that because I don't like the in-between fighters. You're either all in or you're all out. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Leah Letson, she likes that lead leg calf kick, which I'm a fan of. She has a nasty roundhouse kick, man. She got a finish in that in her Invicta debut. A beautiful roundhouse, just starched her opponent. Solid step in left cross. Solid clinch control against the cage. That's all we know about Letson, really. How do you see this fight going down, man? Do you think Felicia wants to stand with her? Do you think she's looking to just take her to the ground and get her, you know what I mean? Like, Letson has some good takedown defense too, but how do you see this fight playing out?
Yeah, I see this fight playing down by Felicia Spencer being the bully, leading off with the kicks, kind of starting a little slow, filling it out, playing the cards, and then once she sees her openings, really going for either the clinch game or the ground game. She's very, very strong in both of those aspects of her game, and she almost prefers it a little more. She likes the kicks. Obviously, that Taekwondo background is still there, but when other people, especially in the division, are better kickers, it's kind of hard to keep up, So I do think that Felicia Spencer is going to be the one on the front foot, being the bully in this fight, letting Leah Letson kind of feel that deep water, feel that pressure of the UFC again. And as far as Letson, the biggest thing I had for her She has a very powerful left hand, but she's very much a dog. Like she's very willing. She's game to fight. I mean, obviously coming off of a three-year hiatus, coming back and fighting a pro like Felicia Spencer, one of the top in the division, you got to have some dog in you. And she's willing to eat one to give one back. That's why I like Letson. So in this matchup, don't count her out like the odds makers are doing, -300 to 240. Like, don't count her out entirely. She has a puncher's chance. She can get things done. She's very powerful, keeps that pressure, has smooth combos, but I think Felicia Spencer is going to be the more talented, well-rounded, and well-versed opponent in this one.
No, I hear you on that one, man. And Letson, in her fight against Macy Chasson, she ate some nasty knees to the body, ended up getting finished, right? But Uncle Dana, he was sitting there cage side, and she was over there crying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." And that to me, and Dana White, he was like, "Bro, like, chill. You fought great, man. Like, I've seen some of the best get finished with those. Like, don't even trip." But she was so down on herself on that one. It only spoke to me. That's what I love to see, the accountability. She wasn't blaming nobody else. She says, "I failed. I was supposed to deliver. I'm sorry. I was supposed to put on a show." That's the dog in her right there that's saying, like, I'm coming to get it. And AJ, she is very much kind of like a Miranda Maverick of the, another iteration of that. Not necessarily in fight style, but in the other statistics that she got going on, my man. Check this out. So this is a small picture, but I'll read it out for you. This is a get to know Leah Letson when her Invicta debut, right? One, she rides a motorcycle. That's totally great, man. That's an interesting stat to put up there. Has 2 college degrees, so clearly, I mean, fighting for the love of fighting. And she is a surveillance tech for Wisconsin, the Air Naval Guard, I believe that's what it says, or something like that. Here, let me pull it and make it just a little bigger so I can read that thing. National Guard, there we go. Surveillance tech for Wisconsin Air National Guard, my man. So she got a lot of things going for her, my man. So does any of that stuff worry you, AJ? And I say this not even to be obnoxious here, not even to be condescending here, but I sometimes wonder, when you have all these other things going on, all these other paths to having a decent life and career and success outside of fighting, sometimes you're not as motivated to get that dub the same way that someone's like, this is my life. Fighting pays my bills. If I lose, I go home with half a paycheck. This ain't it. Then again, she hasn't fought in 3 years. So just give me that, and then we'll give our picks on this.
Yeah, it does make me a little worried because you don't fight unless you absolutely have to. That's the majority of us. The rule one in self-defense is if you can run away, run away. Yeah. Like you don't fight. It's not what it is. And then the fighters that have to, that they're actually making their paycheck, that's what it is. And then you fight for the love of the actual fighting and getting down once you have to, and you really have no other choice. So when those other ones are there, we've seen with absolute killers like Conor McGregor, he's looking amazing while he's still hungry. You get fed a little bit and then you're like, yeah, you know what? All right, whatever. I got whiskey. I got all this. I got all that. It does worry me a little bit for Letson, but again, we don't really know her why she's doing this. Mm-hmm. So if that comes to play and that dog comes out to eat, she can easily get it done. I would not be surprised to see her with a KO, like one of those random Felicia Spencer gets caught with a KO, like something crazy like that. Wouldn't be surprised. But I'm just going to go ahead and give you my pick right now, Derick. I'm going Spencer by decision because I do think that she's just going to be the more well-rounded fighter, get things done more often. But like I said, wouldn't be surprised to see Letson get that KO if she does.
So, AJ, I will say I will be very surprised to see Letson get a KO. And the reason why is because there's no way you can go 5 rounds with Amanda Nunes and Cyborg. They don't knock you out or even hurt you, and you get knocked out by someone who hasn't fought in 3 years. I'd be very surprised. I'd be very shocked. But just like in the PFL, AJ, they have this thing called showcase bouts. It's not their championship title bouts. It's showcase bouts. This is a showcase bout for Felicia Spencer. This is hey, put somebody on notice right now. Finish her. Get her out of there. If she does not do that, I think Felicia Spencer takes a little bit of a step back in terms of her popularity, her momentum, even in this non-existent division that we have here. So I'm going Felicia Spencer for the dub. I think she gets it done in 2. I think she's going to ground and pound her for the finish. I think if she's smart, she puts on a show and she does not leave it to the judges because, once again, man, how do you look 5 rounds with some of the best to do it? And then someone coming off the couch, 3 years, inactive. What are we talking about? So I'm going Felicia Spencer, AJ. The over-under on this one is 2.5 rounds, minus 240 for the over. Under is plus 190. So it looks like the odds makers agree, brother. So with that being said, my man, that was the one bout in this main card, which I was really like, okay, gotcha. This could be a prelim fight, honestly. There's better prelim fights that should be on the main card than this one. No disrespect. Both very talented fighters. They step into the cage, you got to respect them. Enough said. All right, AJ. I'm kind of hyped up for this co-main event, brother. Like, I'm legitimately hyped up. We got Big Ben Rothwell, my man. Haven't seen this man in just a little bit. He's been pretty active over the last year or whatnot. But he's fighting a very interesting opponent in Marcos Rogerio de Lima, or Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Nonetheless, Rothwell opens up as a minus 150 favorite for this heavyweight contest with a plus 125 comeback for de Lima. AJ, this is basically going to be a matchup of who's going to win, the striker or the grappler? Now, don't get me wrong. De Lima is not just a grappler. He has great Muay Thai. He has winging hooks that will smash your face in. But Ben Rothwell is the more technical striker, faster hands, in my opinion. Deathly hard punches, my man. Like, he'll punch a hole into your face. I mean, that's a very big man. But both of these dudes have to cut down to get down to 265. So this is going to be a real heavyweight matchup. Now, my question for you on this one, AJ, is we saw what Marcin Tybura, a very small heavyweight, was able to do to Ben Rothwell over the course of 3 rounds. Yes, round 1 and 2, did they kind of lean towards Rothwell? Of course. Round 3, took him down. There was nothing he can do. Real quick, off the bat, AJ, have you watched that fight recently?
Yeah, I watched that one. I like seeing how the fighters lose their fights.
Exactly.
What's the whole? So
let me ask you this real quick. Do you agree that Rothwell lost that fight? Like, it's kind of, in a way, I could have saw it 2-1 for Rothwell. He was getting the better on the feet for rounds 1 and 2, but somehow he lost a unanimous decision straight up. What did you think about that?
I had Ben Rothwell winning as well, and I took that as me being the biased striker that I am. I need anytime they're on the feet trade, and I think that guy's winning. But at the to Marcin Tybura's credit, if that fight would have kept going 4 and 5 rounds or even longer, he was getting better. He was doing a lot better. So I can see why they gave it to him. Although I had Ben Rothwell winning that one as well.
Tybura, ultimately, he did the most damage in that round 3. It was an ugly round we bloodied Rothwell all up and all that good stuff. But Rothwell, man, the striking is legit. And I guess that's the point, is it's not as definitive as a loss as on paper it might seem. But this is kind of, that's the template that I use. And I look at that fight to predict how this fight might go. Because if you're De Lima, that's your goal. Get Rothwell to the ground and pound him for 3 rounds. Do it, rinse, wash, repeat. That's exactly what he did to Maurice Green in his last fight. A big striker, just completely negated that striking by just taking him to the ground. There was nothing he can do. And the thing about De Lima is he's so huge, man. You know what I mean? There's very few people he can't ragdoll, and one of them is Alexander Romanov, where that man just got. I've rarely been able to pull it off, man, in jiu-jitsu, but that's a very effective technique, man, where you just get on top of them, you put your forearm in their throat, and you put all your weight on them. It's just uncomfortable. It's not even a real deal submission. It's just, I can't breathe. You know what I mean? So for that to happen to De Lima, he got submitted that way. He got submitted against Stefan Struve, right? Round 2, Those are the only 2 submission losses of his career, and they all came in his last 5. So I don't think that that's something that we have to worry about too much. And if you're Ben Rothwell, you know what I mean? You got 7 submissions under your belt. Don't count that man out. But when it comes down to it, AJ, it's a simple question that I think answers this fight. Will De Lima be able to get this fight to the ground?
That's exactly the question I have as well for you, Derick. Will he be able to get it to the ground? I think so. And if he does, I think it's going to be a little bit later, because Ben Rothwell, dude, he is that classic old school style of heavyweight we'd love to see.
Absolutely.
And the only problem with that is he stays a little bit heavy on the feet. So if Rogerio de Lima is able to get that takedown, shoot that takedown, blast double leg, he can get it. He can get up in under the guard and actually go in for that big takedown. It's just the one thing about Ben Rothwell. Yeah, he's a vet. He's been training. He's probably working on the ground game, but he is fast for how big this man is. Those feet are fast. Those hands are fast. He's able to move very quickly, and it'll be interesting to see if he's able to get that elusiveness into work going forward. Do you see this one going to the ground?
I think that's the only chance for De Lima to win the fight, man. I really think that. I think on the feet, he's going to get picked apart because all of his hooks winging. Oh, man, big from the sides, you know what I mean? All of them. Rothwell, what looks like arm punches really aren't, man. He has this weird way of swaying his body to where he just moves to the side and just everything. It looks, but it hurts, man. These shots hurt. So when it comes down to it, my man, if De Lima can't get the fight to the ground, I think this is an easy win for Rothwell. But if he can get the fight to the ground, it's going to be a tough fight for Rothwell to win, man. Like I said, if Tybura can do this to you, what do you think De Lima is going to do to you? Only has 2 submissions in his career, but he's more of the top control ground and pound as opposed to let me get on top and then try to submit you somehow, some way. 66% takedown accuracy for De Lima is there over about one takedown per fight. You know what I mean? But the point is he's accurate when he tries to take you down. It's not like a Felicia Spencer who has a 10% takedown accuracy. It's a bunch of shots and you can't get anything done, right? It's going to be interesting to me on this one, AJ, because Ben Rothwell, would you agree with me on this one? And we'll give our picks after this. Would you agree with me that Ben Rothwell overextends on his striking a little bit? He kind of will punch forward, and De Lima, all it takes is you throw 1-2 over the top, and De Lima comes right underneath, double leg, could get you on the ground. He literally did that to Maurice Green. Rinse, wash, repeat. That's kind of the name of the game for De Lima. What do you think about that?
I do. I agree. He extends his punches on his power punches. Those little, they're not necessarily arm punches like you're saying. He has that hip shift, that weight going forward. But what he'll do is he'll throw that combo, and then that last one, that big power shot, really overextends, and that's when Marcos Rogerio de Lima, as long as he doesn't get caught by it, can duck under and save, or duck under and get that takedown. I think Rogerio de Lima works best on his front foot, so it's going to be interesting to see how he handles the pressure of Ben Rothwell going forward, man. Who do you see leading this dance?
Ben Rothwell, absolutely, my man. I think that Rothwell is going to basically say, like, you're going to be lunch to me, you know what I mean, on the feet. Unless he can gain some respect by landing a big bomb or something like that, my man, I think Rothwell is going to try to push forward, but that's the problem with pushing forward, is that if someone's trying to take you down, you're making it kind of easier for them, you know what I mean? It's harder to take someone down when they're moving backwards as opposed to when they're moving forward, you feel me? Unless Ben Rothwell has the great hips. It's going to be interesting, my man. 70% takedown defense for Rothwell. So don't get me wrong. It's not like it's just an easy dude to take down. He's a monster of a man. 6'4", has to cut down to 265. Come on, nobody wants to mess with that. But when it comes down to it, my man, both of these fighters are 3-2 in their last 5. Who do you got and why?
Yeah, man, this one's going to be very interesting because I'm actually a big fan of Rogerio de Lima as well as Ben Rothwell. I give the power. Both of them have power. But I give the advantage on the ground to De Lima and the speed to Rothwell, making it a very interesting matchup to see how it actually all unfolds. But me personally, Derick, I'm going Ben Rothwell by decision. I think the vet's going to get it done. Both these are veterans, but I think Ben Rothwell is going to be able to get it done in those late rounds and not get controlled like we saw the Crochet boss get controlled in his last fight against Rogerio de Lima, where that's what he does best, man. He keeps you down. He holds you down. Rogerio de Lima will keep with that top pressure, but I don't see Ben Rothwell submitting to that or just allowing that to happen. I think it's going decision. Ben Rothwell. Who's your pick and why?
Well, I will say easier said than done, my man. You know what I mean? When you in there against these two huge monsters, easier said than done. I'm going with the underdog here. I'm going De Lima just because over the course of 3 rounds, kind of always like to take the grappler as opposed to the striker. It's easier for the grappler to have success if he gets you to the ground, and we know how much the judges weigh in these takedowns, my man. I mean, Rose Namajunas, she just won her fight with a takedown over Wei Li. Didn't do much with the takedown, but she got the takedown. And if that's what counts and that's what wins fights, then I think De Lima has a good chance of winning this fight. I will say one of the best ways De Lima gets his takedowns are via double underhooks or body locks. You know what I mean? He's very, very strong. I'm just telling you, to be able to body lock somebody, ragdoll him to the ground, you have to be a strong man to do that. And De Lima has a lot of power in there. So over under on this one, AJ, 1.5 rounds, -170 for the over and +140 for the under. So it looks like we're both going on the over here, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that being said, folks, main event time, man. Let's rock. Okay. Blessed Express is back, baby. Number 1 ranked Max Holloway, -625 favorite with a +450 comeback for number 3 ranked Yair Rodriguez, AJ, -625, which is actually higher now. This is the opening odds. I think it's above 750 right now. My question to you is, yes, Yair Rodriguez is coming off an injury. Yes, he hasn't fought in about 25 months. But even as impressive as Max Holloway looked against Calvin Kattar, Calvin Kattar was the perfect body in front of Max Holloway for him to have that performance. Yair Rodriguez is a completely different animal, different fighter. Do you agree with the line here, AJ?
I agree in the sense that I do think Max Holloway's the favorite. Yair Rodriguez is the underdog. But that's a pretty high margin, man. I would have thought a little more around 200, somewhere around that, like, differential. I think it's just based solely on the fact that Yair Rodriguez said they forgot who this dude is. Okay. I mean, some, like you said before, some say undeservedly he's still number 3, but this dude's a killer, man. Lest we not forget, like, he was losing that fight against Chan Sung Jung and was able to hit him with a dirty dirty uppercut, like underneath. I don't even know how to call it.
Yeah,
Up elbow, I guess is
something
the way
like
to say
that,
it. Man, this
yeah.
dude is crazy. His kicks are insane. I do think he's the underdog, but this margin that they have going is pretty crazy. What do you think?
I agree with you. He's very clearly the underdog, but it's like plus 450 is saying you have no chance to win, basically. You know what I mean? You bet $100, you're going to give me $450 if Yair wins. I get it. It's going to be a long shot. Max Holloway is one of the best to do it. Some would say he's the people's champ, you know what I mean? But then again, you can't discount Volkanovski after what he did to Brian Ortega. But then again, you look at what Holloway did to Ortega. It wasn't even close when they fought. So it's like, I don't know. Listen, man, what it comes down to for this fight, in my opinion, is will Max Holloway's pressure be enough to stop the crazy kicks of Yair Rodriguez? Because one thing you'll notice about him, we saw it in the Korean Zombie fight, when you pressure Yair Rodriguez and you nonstop on him, you know what I mean? It's hard for him to sit there and set up all those crazy kicks. He loves the calf kick. He has a teep kick. He has hook kicks. He has spinning shit. He has everything. When it comes to kicks, man, full vast array of weapons when it comes there. But AJ, I will say that he has a very noticeable tell in his game. When he moves to southpaw, a lot of big kicks is coming. He kicks out of both stances, but a lot of big kicks is coming. Basically, all of his boxing comes from the orthodox stance. Do you think Max Holloway will be able to take advantage of that?
Oh, 100%, man. You know the Holloway camp, they might not be doing sparring, but they're doing their research over there. This dude, yeah, I think he's easily going to be take advantage of that because the nice thing about Max is he sees these shots coming way before they ever do it. He can pick up on people's tells way before they even notice they're even doing it themselves. Yeah. We saw in the Calvin Kattar fight, this dude is able to look away. He still hit slips while he's talking. Yeah, dude, this dude is insane. I think he's going to be able to make I was about to say make easy work of those reads, but I don't think easy work is a good way to say it. I think he's going to be able to make the efficient work of the reads that he's getting off of Yair Rodriguez. What do you think?
No, I hear you. I think that he's going to be able to have a lot of success here, but it's all dependent on if he can close that distance and stay away from those kicks. Because if Yair Rodriguez can keep those kicks going, then he can effectively take away that, how would you say? Max Holloway does a lot of his damage with his hands. So if you could take that opportunity away and make him have to fight a little longer, make him have to not be able to sit down on those 4 or 5 punch combos that he throws all the time, it might be a little bit, tougher, my man. Yair Rodriguez is predicting a finish. He says, I think the fight's going to go long, but it's not going to go to the distance. I'm going to finish Holloway within 5. And as bold of a claim as that is, AJ, you cannot deny. Listen, man, he got the big win over Korean Zombie with that that little up elbow, right? He got the big win on BJ Penn, when he finished him. And BJ Penn, I mean, obviously, it didn't really age that well. But the point is like he has show-stopping capabilities to be able to get finishes, my man. That's not a question. But he has been out for 25 months, my man. After, I think he had a fractured ankle was an injury he was returning from. I think that and canceled bout against Holloway, who had to pull out with an injury or something like that earlier, is the reason why this fight has taken so long or why he's been inactive for so long. But both of these guys are 29 years old, both of them 5'11". Rodriguez holds a slight reach advantage, 71 to 69 inches. But resume speaks for itself, my man. For Holloway, you got Poirier, Frankie Edgar, 2 times for Volkanovski, and Calvin Kattar. He's 2-3 in those last 5. For Yair Rodriguez, BJ Penn, Frankie Edgar, Chan Sung Jung, Jeremy Stevens times 2, right? Now, does it say anything to you that Yair Rodriguez got knocked out by Frankie Edgar and Max Holloway basically, he put a beating on Edgar. It was a unanimous decision, but he put a beating on him. Does that say anything to you?
It does, man. Yeah. Well, and that was the Frankie Edgar of yesteryear that we were talking about last week, where he was an absolute killer back in the day. Yeah. I feel like now a lot of people have caught up to him. So that loss has aged well for Yair Rodriguez. Says a lot to me, especially because it was a doctor stoppage. Yair didn't get finished. He had the doctor come in and step in and actually stop it. Speaks volumes of the fact because Max Holloway, by all means, is a decision fighter. He's going to be putting the pressure on you all day. He can easily get a knockout, but he's there to embarrass you and make you drag you into those deep waters. So it says a lot that Yair fell short on the Frankie Edgar fight. It's going to be interesting to see how it does now. I'm excited. Max Holloway was saying in my last fight I was talking about I'm the best boxer in the UFC. I'm here to prove that I'm the best striker in the UFC. I'm interested to see what kind of kicks Max starts bringing to the game, or if he's going to be really checking those low kicks, those calf kicks, see what kind of comes. Do you see Max Holloway kicking a lot in this one coming up?
Well, he kicked a lot in his last fight, you know what I mean? But it's different types of kicks. He doesn't have, so I would say Holloway is much more of a fundamental fighter, much more of a basic fighter, but in the best way that you can say that, right? It's not going to be super flashy, not a lot of spinning techniques. He does have some spinning, like body kicks that he likes to throw, you know, those are good to like keep range and all that. But I just think he's going to stick with the basics, the roundhouse, couple calf kicks, you know what I mean? Couple body kicks, and just keep it simple. I do think he will be kicking, but Yair Rodriguez has vastly superior kicks. And listen, they come from wacky angles. He throws everything from just weird, unpredictable angles, which is going to be tough. So, yes, I do think Holloway is going to be kicking. But my question to you before we give our picks on this one, AJ, one thing that has been kind of a kryptonite for Max Holloway, at least it was in the first Alexander Volkanovski fight, was the calf kick, man. You know, he allowed Volkanovski to basically win the fight off of calf kicks, just racking up points day in, day out. For Rodriguez, his calf kicks are a little nastier, I would say. You know what I mean? He's trying to hurt you with those calf kicks. So do you think that Holloway's going to be able to check these kicks? Do you think that Yair Rodriguez is going to be able to beat up the legs of Holloway and make it a really interesting fight? Because that's the one way where I can truly see, like, okay, this fight gets interesting. It's round 3. Holloway is limping on one leg because he's been eating calf kicks, not checking it. Basically, the question is will the man be checking the kicks, or do you think he's just going to try to eat them and fight through it?
I want to say he's going to be checking them, but if history proves anything, it seems like Holloway is just going to eat those kicks and keep on walking through. Pull the Ponzinibbio approach and just bite down on that mouthpiece and keep it going. But Yair Rodriguez, that's another animal where it's like you said, those kicks are different. Those kicks have a lot more snap to them. He digs those into the calves, not necessarily taps you with one. He actually digs it in. I want to say he's going to check him, but I don't think so, Derick. What do you think?
I don't think so, because one thing that I noticed against Calvin Kattar early in the first round, Kattar was landing the calf kicks to Holloway. And then once he started getting beat up on the feet, I think his ego might have took over a little bit and he went pure boxing. He just completely went away from the calf kicks until like round 5, and then he started again. I was like, if you would have been peppering those in the whole fight, it could have been a much different fight. So you can't let Holloway fight his fight, but do I think Holloway will be able to fight his fight? I absolutely do, man. So I don't think it's too much of a surprise here, folks, but I like Max Holloway in this one. I'm going Max Holloway. I do think he will win via decision. I think it will be another one where it's going to be kind of a one-sided affair. Personally, I think Yair Rodriguez could totally have some success, and don't count him out, my man. A knockout could happen at any time. This is the fight game. It's completely unpredictable, but I'm going Holloway by decision, and we'll talk over under after. Who are you going and why, AJ?
Yeah, I'm going Holloway by decision as well, man. I'm riding that Blessed Express all day long. I think he's just the far superior fighter, as well as he's been doing it for more recent. It's going to be interesting to see how Yair performs after his break, but I'm going with Holloway by decision, man.
I mean, it's hard to pick against the man, right? Honestly, if he's only lost to truly the best of the best, right? You lose to Dustin Poirier. I mean, you went up a weight class. Poirier is arguably the people's champion at 155 pounds. That's something. Volkanovski, 2 losses, one of them deserved. The other one, once again, that's neither here nor there. Everybody else pretty much started, man. 22-6 in his MMA career, 18-6 in the UFC, 5 title defenses at featherweight. I mean, the man just needs another title defense. And he even said it too, right? He says everyone wants to wait for the elevator, wait for their shot to be called. He's like, meet me at the stairs, man. I'll be there at the stairs. You got to love to see it. Over under on this one, AJ, I want you to take a guess. What do you think it is?
Ooh, I'd say 3.5.
You want it, brother. You want it. 3.5 rounds is the over-under on this one. The over is minus 155. The under is plus 125. So it looks like we're both going the over on there, folks. So there you have it. That's the main card picks. You got all our main card picks. You got our over-under picks, so it can make you a ton of money over there. We are a little contested in a few of our picks, so it looks like we're just going to have to let the best man win. You know what I mean? So, folks, it's on you at home who are listening, who are watching to decide. You got the red corner. You got the blue corner. Who are you rocking with this week? And look, is it uncanny? Look at my background. We got the red, we got the blue. It almost lines up too perfect. You look at the logo, red, blue. Come on, what are we talking about? All right, folks. Was it strategic? Maybe not. I don't know. Who knows? All right, AJ. So with that being said, folks, before we move on to the fight of the night, once again, I'm just going to ask you, rate us on Apple Podcasts, all the good stuff, wherever you get your podcast at. Just share it with your friends. Give it a share on Instagram, all that good stuff. And you can find us at Instagram at Bloody Water Podcast and on Twitter at Bloody Water Pod. Hit us up on the website, bloodywaterpodcast.com. All right, AJ. One last piece of business before we get out of here, my man. We need to talk about the fight of the night. There's a lot of options to go on this one, my man. There's almost too many options, even though it is, once again, a little bit of a sleepy card, but there's a lot of fun matchups. Who do you think is going to have the fight of the night for UFC Vegas 42?
I'm going with the first fight on the main card, Derick. I'm going Song Yadong versus Julio Arce. I think it's going to be a firefight. It's going to be a lot of fun, but there's a lot of places you can go with this one, but I'm staying with the 135ers just because it's going to be fast. It's going to be a long fight. I'm interested in how that one goes. That's my fight of the night pick. What about yours, Derick?
Well, if you're right about that one, man, or if you think you're going to be right, and I think I'm going to be right on this one, we're going to have a hell of a main card because I'm going the second fight on the main card. I'm going back to Miguel Baez versus Khaos Williams, my man. I just think that if this one goes to a decision, there's no way this cannot be the fight of the night. You know what I mean? This is going to be two monsters, massive power, legs getting beat up, chins getting touched. I don't think they're going to hit the mat, and that is all the makings that you have for a fight of the night, man. So whether it's Song Yadong versus Julio Arce or Miguel Baeza versus Khaos Williams, it does not matter. Tune in, folks. That's really what it comes down to this weekend. Tune in. All right, brother. And listen, my man, we're back again. We're going to be back Mondays and Fridays, 8 a.m. every single week. Short clips drop at noon. Hit us up on our YouTube channel. Type in Bloody Water Podcast or Free Thinkers Club. That is the channel name. But either way, man, get us up to 300 subscribers. We're about 265 right now. We love the love that you guys are showing us, folks. So there is no show without you guys. Always want to make sure that we remember that one. We will have updates next week on if we hit on the overs and unders. Obviously, we'll have a record recap. The whole night, we do it. If you tune in, you listen to the show, you already know what time it is, my man. So now is the formalities, all the good stuff. AJ, got any last words for the people?
Man, we just love the love over here. I look at all the comments, all the likes, man. I'm in there liking them again, seeing people respond, seeing battles going on in the comments, man. Let the other commenters know what you think, man. I was reading it on one of my breaks for work, like sitting there like, woo! Like, I love it, bro. It makes me very happy to see that the community's reacting, and there wouldn't be no us if there wasn't y'all. So we love the support. We'll keep it grinding over here. So stay rocking with us right to the top, man. I love it. Thank you so much.
Shout out to Michael Chandler. See you at the top. You know what I'm saying? And word is, AJ, he's trying to see Conor McGregor at 170. We'll talk about that at another time, folks. We already gave you the formalities. You know where to find us, folks. Until next time, all right? Peace.